Hello, and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, I have a fantastic guest with me today. His name is Justin Crane. He is a Special Forces veteran who spent 12 years in the military, which was his passion. He started as a rescue swimmer, where he rescued multiple people in Hurricane Katrina, with many other rescues during his career as well. He also worked for an elite military unit in Iraq, executing special operations missions. He left the military due to medical reasons, which took him down a dark path of depression, alcohol, drugs, and contemplating suicide, until he woke up, took control of his life, and now he helps others do the same. Justin, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. And this is awesome. I always love the opportunity to get on and share my story and just to have a conversation with someone. And then hopefully, the mistakes that I've made and the things that I've gone through might help change someone's life. And that's what I'm here for. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you for spending your time with us. But it's through our mistakes that we learn and we grow, right?
Yes. I mean, that's what it's there for. A lot of people, I think, take setbacks and mistakes as a negative, and it's really a blessing. I think it's a blessing. Anytime you have faced with a mistake or a challenge, that's where you're going to make your most growth. And it took a long time for me to figure that out, but I'm seeing that now. And it's like the mistakes we always learn the most from. So
well, join the club. We've all had a few along the way, and no matter how bad things get, and they can get really bad, once you get through it and you get to the other side, things look a whole lot different and a whole lot better. So
yeah.
And then, of course, before we continue on, I do want to take a moment to say one more time, thank you for your service.
Oh, I appreciate that. And it's always weird for me, I think, when people do that, is because this was my passion. I love serving, I volunteered for it, but I appreciate anytime anyone does that. So thank you.
You are welcome. And I thank you. So tell us what happened. I mean, why did you join the military in the first place? And how in the world did you end up being a rescue swimmer? I mean, my goodness, that to me I used to swim competitively when I was young, and I love the water, but boy, I have a healthy respect and fear for it because I know how things can change so quickly.
Yeah. So I grew up in Indiana, and in Indiana, it's the heart of basketball. And so I grew up I was born in 81. So I was going through school in the 90s, and basketball was everything. Bobby Knight was there, and I was just involved in sports. I love sports a lot. I played football and basketball, and I excelled through high school. What I didn't like was the academic part. I did not like school, and that kind of held me back a little bit. So I was getting recruited by different schools to play sports, mainly basketball, and then some football came in my senior year, but I just didn't have the grades to get into these colleges. And I graduated high school probably with like a like a 2 point. Like I think I barely just graduated, and I was one of those kids where I didn't know what to do. I ended up going to college, but I did not like it. I went one semester. I just didn't know what to do with my life. I grew up, I would think, with a good family. I didn't know who my real dad was, but I was adopted at a very young age, and we were in the church a lot. And when I turned 18, I just felt like I was suffocated. I felt like I let my family down, and I wanted to do something more. And so I just one day, like, this is one thing that my friends always joke with me about, like, you never think you make a really quick decision, and you just go with it. So one day I was just fed up. I went to the recruiter, talked to the Navy recruiter, and I said, I want to join the military. I want to do something that is fun and exciting, and I like physical activity. What do you have? And they're like, well, you can go be a Navy SEAL, or you can be a rescue swimmer. So I was like, okay, explain those to me. And they said the attrition rate's about the same, but if you're not ready to commit to be the SEAL going overseas and doing these special operation missions, we recommend doing rescue swimmer first and then see how you go. And I said, okay, sign me up. And then when a month after, I was in boot camp, and I just like swam as a kid. Like, we would go to lakes and ponds or whatever and just swim. I wasn't a competitive swimmer. I didn't know what I was doing. And I signed up for rescue swimmer school. So I got to boot camp, and I had to make all these qualification times for the swims before I could get there. And I was sitting there thinking, what have I done? Because I'm missing these swims by like 4 minutes. And I think this is where it taught me not to give up. I
Mhm.
was like so caught up on not wanting to let anyone down, especially my family and my friends. So I was like,
Mhm.
there's no way I'm not going to get this down. So I just got with one of the lead instructors that when you go to boot camp, they have people that work with you to teach you that you're going to be going to special operations. So they'll say you can come to the pool at 3 o'clock in the morning before you get up and swim, and we'll work with you. So I did that, and by the time I got through boot camp, I beat the time by 2.5 minutes. And so what I thought was going to be impossible for me to do, I ended up getting it down at just practice. And then yeah, I went on to rescue swimmer school, and it was tough, but I just kind of took it as one day at a time. And every time I thought about quitting, I just played back in my mind what it would feel like to leave and go home and tell people that I didn't make it. And so that's just
Mhm.
what kept me going. Like I just wanted to make it, and I wanted to make something of my life. And then that's, you know, ended up graduating, and then had a pretty crazy military career that was really, really exciting. And when I think back about it, you train as a rescue swimmer to get rescues, and not many people get rescues. And I just was always in the right time at the right place, and I just feel so blessed of the career that I had. And I hate that it ended shortly due to medical reasons, but everything happens for a reason. So
Mhm.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
what got me into that. So
one of the things, or the two words that I never would have put together when thinking about a military career would be fun and exciting. Because I would have think to me, when I think of military career, I think of sacrifice. I think of, grueling work. I think of course, dedication and love for your
mhm.
country, because you have to have that kind of commitment to your country, to your military mates or partners, the men and women that you're working alongside with, to be able to be successful.
Yeah, no, yeah, and that was all there. It's just when you're that young, you don't think about it at the time. And it really hit me the day that I graduated rescue swimmer school. I remember we get our wings put on of us,
Mhm.
and then that's the day that 9/11 happened. And I remember seeing the towers, like it was playing in the background, and we all thought it was like we didn't know what was going on. And that's what really motivated me and took the pride of like, okay, this, we say we learn from our mistakes. And I remember that day because I remember the country coming together, and we were united when all that happened. And it was a really good, not, it was a tragic event, but it was a good feeling to feel that everyone was united and everyone had the same goal. Like we wanted to fix this problem. We didn't know how to fix it quite, but we were all on the same page. And that's what kind of sparked the fuel of, there's a greater cause. I want to go and try to help as much as I can to figure this out. And that's kind of what led me down the path to wanting to get into special operations, because as a rescue swimmer, like you're just going to be doing like, not to say that's like not I'm not downplaying what they do,
Mhm.
but I just wanted more. I knew that I had more to offer, and it, that it was a hard path for me to get there, but I just wouldn't take no for an answer. And so I figured it out and was able to get into the unit to go do the stuff that I did. And but yeah, it does take a lot of dedication, it takes a lot of time, and you see a lot of because you're so dedicated to what you're doing, relationships get ruined. I see a lot of guys and my friends, marriages that fell, and a lot of people don't realize what goes on. Like when you sacrifice and do this stuff, and you're gone all the time, it's
Mhm.
really hard, and takes someone really special in your life, like a spouse, to be understanding. Because I would see, my friends go on deployments, and then the next thing they're getting a divorce. It's a tough ask for
Mhm.
someone that's not used to that lifestyle to be with someone that's always gone all the time. It's really hard, especially like when you're starting to start a family together, and the
Mm.
husband's not around. So it can be really, really tough. So
Yeah, I hear it a lot, that it's not just the military person, man or woman, who is serving, it's the entire family that's serving and
yeah.
sacrificing. And that does take an awful lot.
And I will say, like the families that strive, that make it, it takes a really strong spouse, like a really strong wife or a really strong husband, to support the service member that's there.
Mhm.
I look at one of my best friends, they're still married, they have 4 kids together, and
Wow.
you know, if it wasn't for his wife, you know, taking care of everything while he's gone and being supportive and putting up with everything that goes wrong. Like he's supposed to come home and then he gets extended for a month and there's stuff
Mhm.
going on and she's doing all the stuff. Like, you know, it takes a village to raise a family, and you know, it's really nice to see that part of it, and
It
not to
is.
see the failing marriages that happen all the time that you see more and more of. So I like seeing those stories better.
Mhm. Oh, I'm sure. And going back to the rescue swimming, because I would imagine when you were going through, you know, getting your certification for that or whatever it is,
Mhm.
that's probably must have been grueling because I'm guessing that they were throwing you in either a pool or whatever, and you were having to rescue guys at least as big as you are, maybe even bigger, who were thrashing and fighting the way a real person would be in a rescue situation.
Yeah, yeah. It was when you first get there, I would say the first, you know, couple weeks is just we call it getting beat down. So we're going to be
Mhm.
running and swimming all day long, and then we do this exercises called sharks and daisies. So the instructors are on the side of the pool, and you're just swimming around the pool, and they teach you breaks, holds, and releases. So if someone when you come up to rescue someone, if they're panicking, they're going to grab onto you, and if you're not a strong swimmer, know how to get away from them, they're going to drown you. They're going to, you know, they're holding on you for dear life. So you got to get them away and take control of them. And so what they would always do is they would just jump on us and take us to the bottom and hold. So you got to learn how to get out of that. And you just got to really, in a water, especially a water environment, you got to be comfortable in the water. The water's got to
Mhm.
be second nature. And that's why we swim so much. And that's why we take our bodies, they took our bodies to failure. So
Mhm.
we would do these evolutions, are called over unders. So we would sprint the top of the pool as fast as we can, and then immediately have to swim underneath the water. And they'd have you do that over and over until you would pass out. So
Oh,
they want
wow.
to learn that your body can go a lot more than what you think, but
Uh-huh.
feeling that part of where you're going to pass out, it kind of awakens you to know that, you know,
What your limit is?
you need to be, yeah, you need to be calm. You need to know how this feels. And then, yeah, you're always put in these stressful situations where you'll be rescuing someone. They're always practicing evolutions, and then another instructor will come and just take you and grab you and take you under and fight with you. And you got to be able to push them off, get them away. They would have us jump into parachutes in the pool and tangle you up. And they teach you, you know, you have to stay calm. The more you fight, the more the
Mhm.
cords are going to wrap around you. So
Mhm.
it's really teaching you a valuable lesson on how to stay calm under
Mhm.
extreme pressure. And that's one of the things I really took out of it. And Rescue Swimmer School does a great job, just like every other elite program in the military. They do a great job in their training to train you for what you're going to go out and
Mhm.
be prepared to do. Because if I didn't go through all that training, I wouldn't be able to stay calm. And some of the situations I was put in, like with Hurricane Katrina, and then some of the rescues I got over in Iraq, like if I didn't understand how to compartmentalize, just stay calm under pressure, I would
Mhm.
have like buckled, and you know, things wouldn't have been accomplished. You know, people's lives wouldn't have been saved. So
Well, you are basically training your nervous system or retraining it to go to stay into the parasympathetic state instead of that fight or flight survival, because that's
yeah.
it's automatic.
Hmm.
And to be able to reverse that or train that to be able to stay in a calm situation where you can function really takes an incredible amount of attention and awareness.
Yeah, it does. Yes. And like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that
No.
you have to build, and you build upon, and then you continue practicing it. And you know, once you get out of rescue swimmer school, you're held to a higher standard whenever you go
Mhm.
to your squadron you get assigned to. It's on you to stay in shape after that. There, you don't have the instructor there teaching you. So every twice a year, we do have to do an evaluation, and we have to do the simulated rescue and everything like that. And if you don't make the cut, they take your wings away, and you're no longer a rescue swimmer. You lose your pay, and then you go and do another job, or you might be kicked out of the military. So you have to take extreme ownership to stay in, you know, great shape, and to meet every task that they're asking you to do, or you're going to lose your job. So
Personal responsibility.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
goes a long way. And I think a lot of people don't really have that kind of experience where they understand the value of personal responsibility.
Yeah. And especially when you have it and you were so like, for me, like I had this personal responsibility, I had this dedication, I had, this drive, and then
Mhm.
to see me like lose it, it's so crazy, like how life happens, like how I could be so dedicated to something, get out of the military, and then find myself, years later with no discipline, no drive, letting substances take control of my life and just not being happy, being miserable. It's really crazy on how people's mindset can just shift by just certain circumstances and not holding themselves. It really comes down to holding yourself accountable
Well,
through
it sounds
all
like you were
aspects.
completely lost.
Oh yeah, I was. I mean, that's it's more of a story. I don't know when you want to get into that, but
You can get into that now if you want to. I also want to hear a little bit more about Hurricane Katrina and what happened there when you were doing the rescues. So I'm going to let you set the pace. What do you want to talk about first?
yeah, so we could talk about Hurricane Katrina, and like I was telling you, like I seem to get into these situations, like I was telling you before. You train your whole career to get these rescues, and I was just always put in this situation. I don't think it's luck. People said, oh, you were just lucky. I think it was, I was just being prepared, and I was in the right time at the right place. But Hurricane Katrina was crazy. I remember when it happened. Pensacola was the hub for all the helicopters that were coming down,
Mhm.
so they would come to us and we would give them supplies, clothing, gear, and then they would all fly down to New Orleans, and there was a carrier that was there. And so all the helicopter units would switch onto the carrier and then start doing rescues.
Mhm.
There was no air traffic control that was there in Katrina in New Orleans. It was all controlled by a carrier. So there was hundreds of helicopters flying around. It was an organized chaos. But our story was I was at Pensacola Station Rescue. Like that was our job, and we had three of the best helicopters that you could have for rescuing. Like the Navy was going away with them; they're about ready to retire them. The Coast Guard had, I think, a couple, but they were called the H-3 Sea King, and you could fit about 30 people in the back of the helicopter, and it looked like a big boat, flying
Mhm.
helicopter boat.
Mhm.
When Katrina happened, we were like, we're going to be the first people to go down there. Why would we not? We have the best three helicopters. Why would we not go? Well, the leadership that was controlling our missions, our operations boss, he decided to keep our helicopters grounded there in Pensacola, because there was some admirals and some senators that wanted to come down to take a tour of the base. And so we were just on call, and the first 2 days, we're seeing all these helicopters fly in, all of our friends going out and doing rescues, and we're setting in Pensacola, picking up pine cones, cleaning up the base, and we're like, we have the best assets. What are we doing? And so finally, we got together as a crew, and we had a mission. In Stennis, Mississippi, there was a small little outpost base, and they needed water and supplies.
Mhm.
So we load all three helicopters up. We're going to go give them some supplies and make sure they're okay. And there's a channel, a frequency that you would tune in on. It's called 7200, and it's the distress channel. And us being rescue crew, if you hear distress, you can't turn it down. You have to go give support. So we talked as a crew before we left. We were told by our air boss, go there and come straight back. Do not go to Katrina. Do not do rescues. We need the helicopters here. We just saw a bigger picture. Like, what are we doing? Like, we need to go down and we need to make a difference. And so we talked as a crew, is like, when we get to Mississippi, we're going up comms and we're saying that we're here to help, and that's what we're going to do. So we immediately fly down there. We talked to the controlling agency, and they were dividing um helicopters to like housing additions. So like, you have this house addition, and then you guys have this house addition, and then our manors, or whatever you want to call it, the different areas in the city. And we just started doing rescues, and within 3 hours we got, I think it was like 110 rescues. And it was not the rescues that we trained for. It was, we were going down on rooftops, we had to take an axe, and people were in the water was so high that people were in their attics. So we had to cut a hole into their rooftop, pull them out, get them up, and get them in the helicopter. And then we were taking them to the RCA Dome, and then they were getting help. We had to land to get fuel at a Coast Guard station, and the commander of the base came out and was like, "Thank God you guys are here." He's like, "I'm taking operational control of your guys' helicopters. You guys are staying another night. We need your guys' support." And he called back to our base. There was obviously a fight that happened. They weren't happy. We stayed another day, and we did more rescues. And the crazy thing about Katrina was at nighttime, we couldn't do rescues because not all helicopters, squadrons at the time, were flying with night vision goggles. So we didn't want to have any mishaps in the air. And so I remember, excuse me, I remember when we were leaving, they were saying that that night the levee was going to break and the water was going to rise another 8 to 10 feet. And water was already up to people's rooftops. Like they were like in their attics. And I remember as we're flying by, it was like the saddest thing I remember seeing is as we're leaving, there's no lights in the city and people are on top of their house. And it looks like the city's lit up like lights on because they had flashlights, cameras, flashing us, trying to get us. And, we had to go back, and they did as much as they can, but, there was still people that lost their lives. And there was people that were stubborn that didn't want to leave, that should have left. But there was also people that just couldn't get out. They didn't have it. Like they had the warning, but, the transportation and, a lot of the homeless that was there just could not get out of the city and they were trapped. And so it was a sad, sad story, but then we get back to our base, and as soon as we get in contact with our air traffic control, our commander's in there, and he says, "As soon as you guys land, come to my office." And we're like, "Great, we're in trouble." And so, of course, we were. And he made us take off all our wings. Your guys' career is done. You disobeyed a direct order. Of course, our lead helicopter pilot, he was a commander in the Navy. He's like, "You're not taking these guys' wing. It was my decision." He's like, "I'm taking full responsibility." That he stood up for us to being a real leader, but still our air ops boss followed through with it. We temporarily lost our wings. So he did what he had to do. He still fought. So he had a brother that worked at New York Times. And so he released the story and said, "Hey, we have a commander down here that's stopping rescue efforts and they're being reprimanded for going and doing rescues. I think you might have a story here." And then the next day, remember on MSNBC, they used to do like top 10 worst people in the nation. And they do a countdown. And it was our number one was our commander. His name was Commander Holder. It was him with the radio saying, "This man stopped rescue efforts and this crew was able to go and do this." So big Navy found out about it. The commander got relieved of command. We had a new admiral come down, take over, congratulate us, give us some awards, go back down and start doing more relief. And it just, that right there taught me like poor leadership can really, really ruin life. Like we spent 2 days picking up pine cones when we could have been down with the best helicopters we had to do rescues just because someone wanted to advance their career. And the congressman or whoever, the senators, never even showed up. So those 2 days, like they weren't even there. So we just wasted those 2 days for nothing. He wanted to have them there just in case, to be like, to advance his career. He was all worried about his career, which didn't make sense. If he would have let his crews do what they needed to be, he would have been, rewarded for the effort, because it's overall, those are his helicopters. This is, we're his crew. And he stopped us, and
more lives could have been saved.
Yeah, a lot more could have been saved. Yeah, that's what really makes me mad about it. But we did the best we could, and it's a very rewarding when I think back about it, like to be able to save those people, but also knowing we could have saved more, and then just enough wasn't done. Like that's the hard part when you're into this type of job, is like rescuing people, is like not everyone's going to get rescued, but you do the best that you can. And I felt like we did. We gave it our all, and it took a lot of courage and a lot of guts for that our helicopter commander to stand up to leadership and say, "You're wrong. We're going to go do this anyways. I don't care if I lose my career. There's lives on the line. And that's the type of mentality that you want in leaders, and that taught me a very valuable lesson really quickly. I got to see in one example, or in one time, I got to see a bad leader and a good leader working right by each other, and it taught me a very valuable lesson right there. So
Yeah, and you saw the contrast,
yeah,
which was
definitely,
pretty
definitely
remarkable.
the two sides of it. Yeah, and yeah, so then from there, after Katrina, I got
So
a
I just want to interrupt for 1 minute, if I may, because I'm going to
yeah.
just take a deep cleansing breath and try and calm down my nervous system after listening to that story, because, I just want to go and find that fella and just grab him by the throat and choke the life out of him. But it
Yeah,
just goes to show you the people who really, really are so committed and want to do the best work that they can to save lives, to help people, and the morons in charge who think they know better, and they're
yeah.
just kind of like using us as pawns. Okay, I just had to say that. I'm fine now.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, we all wanted to go, and yeah, we were not happy with that guy. And then he tried to come back and redeem himself and act like he was our best friend. We all didn't want to shake his hand. We didn't want to do anything. We didn't want to be around him. And they got rid of him really, really quickly. And and what's crazy is his sister, he had a twin sister, and she was also a captain up here in Virginia Beach, where I'm at a helicopter
Mhm.
squadron. And then she heard news what happened, and she was so mad. And when we came up, she knew my name, and a couple other guys. She's like, "I'm so sorry, my brother made a horrible decision. Like, he shouldn't have done that." And so she knew,
Mhm.
and I think he knew that he messed up at the time. I think looking back at it, he was like, I made the wrong decision." But
Actually, I thought what you were gonna say when you segued into that was that he's actually a member of the Senate or the Congress or whatever right now. I was just seeing you
no,
there.
I hope not. Like, I don't know what happened to him. I
Yeah.
never followed up, but yeah, I hope not.
Wow.
I don't think so. I mean, his career got ended. He got relieved of command, and that's never good in the military. So
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, at least he got you got some justice, and he
yeah,
got reprimanded. So that's at least something came out of it. Wow. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And then I got lucky again and was able to do some more rescues when I was in Pensacola.
Mhm.
There was a so when we were doing Station SAR, we were also support for the Blue Angels that were there, and then
Mhm.
Rescue Swimmer School is there, and then all the pilots that go through training. That's where their basic pilot training's at. So we're there for support in case they crash. So the Coast Guard is in Mobile, Alabama, and they take care of like all the big rescues with civilians.
Mhm.
But there was a Coast Guard boat about 120 miles off the coast, and they didn't have the helicopter that had enough gas to reach out there. And there was a guy that got all the report we got was a guy got shot in the leg, and we don't have anything else, but he's bleeding out and they need help. And so we got called to go out there, and I was the crew chief. So in the back of a helicopter, you have a rescue swimmer and their crew chief. The crew chief is one that hoists down and talks to the pilots and gives the commands on
Mhm.
where to put the helicopter. And so when you become a rescue swimmer, you get trained as both. So we can swap out. And so it's just my day to be the hoist operator. So we get out there and we lower the rescue swimmer down, get them back up. And basically what happened was they were doing practice rounds with the 50 cal machine gun. And whenever they took the machine gun off the mount, they didn't clear the weapon properly. And so there was a round still left in and the safety was off. And they dropped it on the ground and it went off and hit the guy in the calf and blew his calf off.
Oh.
So whenever we got him in the helicopter, we immediately put a tourniquet on him, gave him IVs, and just monitored his blood pressure. And we had like an hour flight to get back to Pensacola.
Mhm.
And he was in and out of consciousness. And in that point, it's just trying to keep the guy awake, talking to him, asking him
Mhm.
questions, keeping him there. And we kept saw his blood pressure drop and drop and drop. And I think when we landed and got him to Sacred Heart there in Pensacola, his blood pressure was like 90 over 60, like he was about ready to
Wow.
die. He ended up making it. And the crazy story about this whole thing is my mom back in Indiana worked for an intensive care unit. And the guy that I rescued ended up coming through, and he ended up losing his leg. So he was there to recover. And he was telling my mom the story about how the Navy rescued him, and the guys in the back like saved his life and everything like that. And she's like, "Oh my God, that was my son." And so I was able to talk to him on the phone. It was so cool. Like, how did that end up? How did he end up back in India? It's like, it's weird how the universe aligns and puts you in these weird situations. And but that was rewarding to get to hear from someone that you know help save their life. It's one of the craziest feelings you have when you talk. It's very, very humbling. And I just blame it all to training. Like, you got to train, and that's what the military teaches, is like that you're so stressed out because you got someone's life on your line and you can't think. It's got to be muscle memory. You know, everything's got to
Mhm.
be second nature. When that happened, it's kind of like you black out and just your training takes over and your body just kind of performs. And if you're not prepared for that, you're either going to freeze up or you're going to perform. And the
Mhm.
military does a great job of teaching you how to perform over just constant repetition of doing the same thing over and over and over. And sometimes you're like, why are we doing this so much, until you're put in this situation. You're like, okay, this is why we're doing this. And
Wow, that story gave me chills of that man meeting your mom in the ICU.
yeah, it was I was like, wow, this is I didn't believe my mom for a second. I was like, you sure this is the right guy? And then like, no, like this is him. And then remember his last name was Davis. And yeah, it was a crazy story. And
Yeah, because how many other guys would have been going through the intensive care unit with the bottom of their leg shot off? I mean, it's not like
exactly, from
that's
the
a
Coast
common
Guard.
injury, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I remember telling my mom the story, and then she kind of put it together when that guy was there, and she told the story. She's like, "Oh my God, that was my son. Like, let me call him." And then yeah, it was a
So
pretty
you
cool
got to
story.
talk to him on the phone.
Yeah, I got to talk to him on the phone, and he like just kept saying thank you, and it
Oh,
was really good. I'm just like, I'm glad that you're doing better, and that's awesome. Sorry that you had to lose your leg, but like, he's like, I don't care about that. I'm still alive. Like, have a kid and a wife, and it's a really cool story.
wow. So what happened then that caused you to leave the military? And what happened after that? Because it's like you had this brilliant career and it was so incredibly rewarding, it sounds like, and satisfying to you. What happened then?
Yeah, so after Pensacola, I wanted to go to SEAL training. I wanted to be a SEAL. I wanted to go to BUDS. But the military, so they get you in, and my recruiter like got me to sign. They spent so much money on me, and there's not that many rescue swimmers in the Navy. And so I tried to go to BUDS to be a SEAL, but the rescue swimmer rate was undermanned, and they were not going to allow me to go. And so
Mm.
I was like, well, I want to do these missions. I want to go over to Iraq. I don't want to go out to carriers and do rescues. I want to do something different. And so my commanding officer, I put probably 7 requests in. He was so tired of hearing my name. He's like, look, we have a helicopter unit that does special operations. They're a reservist command, but they're going to take active duty. They'll take a couple of active duty guys, but you got to go screen and meet these guys. And so I was able to do that. And so I wasn't able to be a SEAL, but I was able to go and do, I mean, I was working in Iraq supporting all of special operations. So I was working with all the special operating guys you could think of. We
Mhm.
supported them, and we would do their mission. So we were their way in and out of their missions. We called it insert extract. And then we would stay over target in case something bad happened, or guys that they're going after would run out the back door. We call it squirter control. So if they're running out the back, then we have a team, or we have the guns in the back of the helicopter. We go down, chase them down, and get them and put them back in the helicopter. So every night was just going after terrorists. Like we were working with the most elite special operations units, and it was called TST, time sensitive target. We would just get a call, hey, team's preparing, there's a guy that we know of that's the number one guy in Iraq right now, we're going to go after him. So we plan the mission, go do all this. But getting through all that training was shooting a lot of weapons around, a lot of explosions, a lot of stuff. And I don't
Mm.
know if it was just being a rescue swimmer in the water and then around all this loud noise, I started to get it. So after my 5th deployment, I came back, and I was doing deadlifts, working out, and I got really bad vertigo.
Mhm.
And I went to see the doctor, and I was like, I don't feel like I can hear out of my left ear. I have pressure. He checked my ear and he's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong. And I failed my hearing test. And then the next day I go back and my hearing's fine, no vertigo. And he's like, maybe you just have some allergies. You have, like something's going on with, you have an inner infection. Nothing. Then it happened 2 or 3 times again. And the vertigo got so bad that I was throwing up. So long story short, I ended up seeing a specialist, a neurologist, and ENT doctor, and they diagnosed me with Meniere's disease.
Mhm.
And it's an inner ear condition that affects your hearing and balance, and they don't know how to cure it. They don't know what causes it. You can just kind of like keep it stable. And so, with all being in special programs and aviation, vertigo doesn't mix. And so I had to get out. They gave me a medical retirement out. Luckily, I was in good standing, and my command loved me. My commanding officer took care of me. I got the care that I needed. I was able to get out with full medical retirement, VA disability, everything like that. And but then I was stuck with, what am I going to do? Like, I don't know what to do because this is what I wanted. I got to where I was at. I was loving going. Like, I loved going to Iraq and being in those situations. I loved the chaos. It was so much fun. And I just did adrenaline junkie. I don't know. Like, it was just something that I was just passionate about. Like, I would volunteer for Christmas and New Year's for guys that were married, because I wasn't married at the time. I was, I'll take your guys' spot. I want to go back out there. And so that got taken away from me. But at the time, I was like, okay, I'm getting a better retirement than I would if I did 20 years. I was taken care of. So I'm just going to go back to school and then figure things out. And at this point, when I was getting out, I was married, and my wife had a good job, and I was getting my VA payment. I was going to school, and then the military pays you to go to school. So I really didn't have to work. I was just able to like kind of relax, go to school. And when I was in high school, I thought school was going to be hard. When I get out, I'm going to class, and I went to Old Dominion University, and it was just easy. I showed up, and I never opened a book, and I was taking the tests, and I was getting A's and B's, and it was easy for me. I wasn't challenged. And one of the things that happens in the military, and this is when I was in, is drinking was kind of part of the thing. Like, we work really hard, we deploy, and then we celebrate and we go out and drink. And every Friday and Saturday night was like either a going away party or a welcoming home party, or we're just drinking to have fun. I remember, like, here in Virginia Beach, we go for these long runs, and then we'd stop at a bar, drink, and everyone thought it was cool and fun. And it's just something that you kind of built as a habit. And once I got out and I had no responsibilities, I wasn't waking up at a certain time because class sometimes didn't start till 11. I remember I'm sleeping in, I'm not working out. And then I had a neighbor who was kind of towards retirement, and he would go to this local bar. He'd say, hey, Justin, won't you come up? And like, he thought, my stories were cool with the military, and I would tell to his buddies that are older. And I noticed 3 or 4 times a week, I was going up and, drinking more. And I found myself just drinking more and drinking more. And then I get in this depression. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I go to the VA, and they give me Xanax, and they're like, this is going to help with your depression, take this. And I don't want to talk bad about the VA, but they really, really overserved me Xanax. Like, I remember, like, e-scripts, they would give me, like, they wrote me a prescription for 3 milligrams. So I was taking 1 milligram in the morning, 1 milligram in the afternoon, and 1 milligram at night. And they would send me a bottle for 6 months. So I'm sitting there with all this Xanax and just taking it. I got addicted, like, bad. And I didn't at the time, I didn't know that I was addicted, because it would take this anxiety away from me, I guess. But it never really did, because the next morning I would have to take it again, or it was just masking all the problems. And then on top of it, I was drinking when you're not supposed to mix those, and the doctors don't go over that with you. So this is over a period of, like, this is getting bad around 2016, 2017. I ended up getting my degree, taking a job, working for a company owned by Boeing. And since I was an instructor in the Navy, I taught military personnel how to fly drones, and the drones supported special operations. So it was like, oh, I'm right back in a cool little niche. So I moved out to Washington State. I was right there in the Columbia River Gorge. where, had Hood River, Oregon on one side and then White Salmon, Washington on the other. And I really liked it, but I still didn't feel like I was fulfilling, a passion. I wasn't I was serving a purpose, but it was just, I didn't feel fulfilled. And so, um, the drinking got where I was doing it more and more by myself. And then, I didn't want to be around anyone. So as an instructor, you can volunteer to do a deployment. So I would go to Iraq and I was going to the embassy and I wasn't working much. So I had a lot of time when I was in Iraq to think about things. But I was able to take Xanax while I was there. And I had like a midlife crisis and like my son was being born at the same time. And I decided that I didn't want to be married anymore. Like that crazy thought came into my mind. I don't want to be married. I want to be single. And so I ruined my marriage right at the wrong time, right when my son's being born. I come back to an empty house in Washington State, and this house was awesome. Like I loved it. It was brand new when we got it. We made the landscaping how we wanted it. It was perfect. So when we got the divorce, my ex-wife moved back to Virginia Beach, and she said, "If you want to be a part of your son's life, you're going to have to come back here." And so that's when the drinking got even more. I was drinking by myself. I got a DUI, just getting in trouble, drunk in Publix, one after another, getting in fights. And I moved back to Virginia Beach and I'm just doing the deployment thing to get away. Like, cause I was
Mhm.
like, I felt like I was a bad example for my son. And I just didn't want to be, even though he was like one, he had no clue who I was at the time, but I was just getting away. And then I would come back and the drinking would get worse. And it got to the point where I was just over it. And I remember like I was so fed up and so disgusted with like my life and where I was at and the person I became. And not only did, I ruin my marriage with my ex-wife now, but I started dating like just using girls to fill voids, like,
Mhm.
going from one to the other. And that's a whole other issue of like figuring out what my problems were. And I heard a lot of people and I just had all this weight and pressure felt on me. And I thought the best thing to do was to, take my like I've had enough. And I remember I got up and I was going to the beach that I used to like my favorite spot here in Virginia Beach. And I was dating a girl at the time who I'm still dating now. And for some reason, so I was walking out and I was thinking about if something doesn't happen, I'm going to do this. I had like, you're not even supposed to bring a gun on base. And like the beach I was at was on base, had it in a bag. It's going to go walk down to the beach and just remember like praying, if something doesn't happen, I'm going to do this by the time I get to the beach. And I just kept replaying as I'm walking down. I kept seeing my face, son, and like me not knowing my dad, my real dad, and then
Mhm.
my stepdad who raised me. But then once I got older, he kind of abandoned me. Like I don't talk to him anymore. And knowing how that affected me as a man, I'm like sitting there thinking, like, okay, well, how is this gonna like this is really gonna mess up Tucker if I do this. I'm starting to replay it. And then randomly, I don't know how this happened. And I think it's God. I don't know if you are spiritual, if you're not, what I believe in God, I believe that things happen for a reason. Randomly got a text message from my girlfriend's mom. And she says, "Hey, I just feel like something's off with you today. Here's the veteran crisis hotline. Like, I feel like something's off. Can
Wow.
you call it?" And I'm like, it just gives me good. I'm like, I just remember just dropping on my knees. I'm like, oh my God, like how, like I, this is the sign. Like me thinking about my son and then this happening, like God still has a plan for me and I need to figure out what it is. So I go back to my truck, I call and they get me the help that I need. And I'm not one that believes in counseling. I tried getting counseling, tried getting help, and I just feel like it never worked for me.
Mhm.
Um, and so I didn't end up taking my life. I still had a huge, huge road to go down. Um, I worked with a doctor to get off the Xanax, and I had to do a very, very long taper. And now, granted, during this time, I'm working for a drone company here in Virginia Beach as a training director, and I'm showing up to work like high on Xanax, and these guys have no clue that I'm just, this weekend I was going to like kill myself. I'm showing up. No one knows that things are going wrong with me. I'm putting on a happy face, acting like nothing's wrong. And I remember when I talked to the doctor, she's like, you've been on Xanax for so long and taking so much that if you come off of it cold turkey, like you could die. Like this is how serious this is.
Wow.
So she's like, I think you need to go into inpatient rehab for a week and come off of this. And I was like, that's not an option. I don't want my work to know I have a security clearance. I can't do this. And she's like, well, we're going to have to do like a really, really slow taper. And so, I did that. They taper you off using another drug, another benzoid, Valium, and then you slowly come off of it. It took 8 months. I got off of it completely, and then I had to battle with the drinking. It was still something that I was still doing, and my girlfriend at the time, she's younger than I am, and she just was like, "You haven't worked out for a year. Your drinking is getting out of control. Anytime you're with your son, I have to take care of him while he's here. You're not present. There's something wrong. And like, if you don't change, I'm going to leave you." And I really, like, I already ruined one relationship and I really care about her. And for some reason, there's a guy that I watched on YouTube, and his name, I don't know if you ever heard of him, but his name's Wes Watson. And he just spoke to me. He's a coach, fitness coach. He did 10 years in prison for doing some really bad stuff. And halfway through, he changed his life and he wants to serve others. And when he got out of prison, that's what he's done. And he's changed so many lives and helped so many men. But I needed a guy that would speak to me in my terms and just wake me up. And I called him and he was just like, no one cares about your excuses. Like, you're making excuses for yourself and you're validating your poor attitude, and you're the only person that can change it. And what's happened is you've lost your passion. You don't have a passion. And for a man to find their passion, you got to understand what your true calling is as a man, as a person. It is to be the best person you could possibly be every single day, and then share that with others. If you can do that, then you can find your passion again, because you're serving a purpose. And he's like, you got to really take an evaluation of your life and what is not making you happy. It's your choices that you're making. You're waking up every day, letting yourself down, and then that's making you a negative person. And it's giving you this horrible thought process about yourself. So he was saying, success is subtractive. You want to change your life around. What don't you like about your life right now? Well, I don't like that I drink. I don't like that I'm out of shape. I don't like that everyone thinks that I'm a joke because I say I'm going to do stuff and I never follow through with it. He goes, okay, take that stuff out and start doing that. Start getting these habits. Start doing it right now and watch what's going to happen to you in a month. Just do this for a month. And I did it, and I was like, holy cow. And then I'm starting to see a change in my body. I'm starting to be a better person. I'm starting to be more present with my son. I'm feeling better about myself because I'm getting these small little wins. And, I tell myself I'm going to get up at a certain time. And before, I would never do it. I would always sleep in, but I'm doing it. I'm getting up and I'm reading a book, reading part of a book, and then I'm going for a walk. What changed me for the longest time was like, I would just go for walks. And I feel like the walk is so therapeutic. I would think about my life and like put me in a positive state. And then I would make sure that I was hitting my workout every single day. And then I was showing up to work, and I was just slowly getting out of this rut. And the more that I put into helping myself and making myself happy, the more of the desire to go drink and have the alcohol went away. And it was just a decision I made. Like, I didn't have to go through AA. I didn't have to go through the 12-step program. Not saying those don't work. It was just a decision of those vices serve no purpose. And for him to have me reflect, be like, name one time that you went to drink that you really enjoyed it. That what value did it bring to your life? Nothing. All it's brought was just misery and pain. Everything was misery and pain. So why do you keep doing it? That's a really good question. And he's like, and then he just like, are you that? He's like, after everything you've been through, you're that big of a, he didn't say wimp, but he said another word. He said, you're that type of person that you're going to allow a vice to take and control your life. You can't take back control of your life. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, are you a man? Or are you not? Like, you're gonna man up? He's like, and he's very, the way he speaks, he's like, this world is full of losers. We need losers. Like, if you want to be one, go ahead. But if you think you're great, you're meant for something more, you're gonna have to put in the work. No one's coming to save you. Like, there's nothing that's gonna, people are gonna say. It's like, you have to want it. And then he's just like, your son is counting on you. Is like the most selfish thing you could do for your son is to be, not to be his role model. And so he's like, what you have to do to fall in love with yourself again. And he's like, you didn't know your dad. You don't have a dad. He's like, I don't care about your sob story, but how you change your life is you create your role model. You envision the man that you would want to look up to and idolize, and create that person within yourself. And then you be your own role model and live that every single day. And then teach others how to do that. There's your passion. And I was like, holy cow, man, this like totally changed my life. And that was my changing point right there.
And how long ago was that?
That was, so I started working with him on just the personal development. Let's see, back in April. And then I started doing the coaching in August. So yeah, it's been very, very recent. Yeah.
April of this year.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but my life has changed dramatically. Like, it's, for 2 years, the suicide thoughts were 2 years ago. But I knew that I needed to get help. But the problem is like, I thought I was okay. I was one of those alcoholics to where I could justify, like, oh, I could go with my girlfriend to Key West and stay under control and just have a couple drinks. But then there would be nights when I wouldn't do that, and I would be out till 3 o'clock in the morning, and she's worried sick about me. Where am I at? Am I in jail? Am I not doing this? So I wasn't really ready to fully give it up. Like, in my mind, I knew I needed to, but was I really ready? Because I was convincing myself that I could still have a couple of drinks every now and then. Well, you can't do that. Like, for someone, with me, I can't do it. It's got to be all or nothing, and you got to cut it out completely. And but yeah, it's I don't even think about it anymore. Like, it's not even a thought. It doesn't even come across my mind. Like, it's crazy on how just a change of mindset and meeting and talking to someone that gets you and understands you can change your life. And I think what really helped is seeing his life and how he was and the way he's living his life now. And he values it all to giving more. Like, he's really big into spiritual and universal laws, and like,
And what is his name?
Wes Watson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not for everyone. He's very, very like I said,
sound like it. But if you like tough love, and if you like somebody who's going to be honest with you, and somebody's going to tell you the truth, I mean, I like his approach. It's so practical, it's direct, and I love stuff like that. I don't do really well with the soft woo woo kind of that.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I think I must have more testosterone than I think, but I like the direct approach.
Yeah, it's just he says something that hits to me: love's not lies. And so, like, if you really love someone, you want to help them, you can't lie to them. You got to be brutally honest. And that's what he did with me. And then that's what I do with my clients that I'm helping now, and I'm helping teach, is I'm just brutally honest with them, because you've been hearing people cater to your bullshit for so long that you need someone to wake you up, because a lot of the people that I work with are not as bad as me, but I see them headed down the path, and I'm like, look, it's not okay to do this. It's not okay what you're doing. Like, you're ruining your life and you don't even see it. And you're unhappy because you're making yourself unhappy, and you're blaming everything else on everyone else when you're the problem. So whatever starts with inside, and that's what's reflected outside. And so it's crazy, but I'm loving this like personal development journey. And the biggest takeaway that I got from it, and this is what I want all the military members that I talk to and I reach out to, is it's easy to fall victim to the card that military members have a hard time when they get out. You don't have to,
Mm.
but we think that we're going to have this hard transition. What you got to realize is you're leaving the military, which was your passion. So you got to find what that other passion's going to be and use what you've learned from the military to your advantage. When you get out of the military, you have this discipline, this dedication, and this perseverance that a lot of people your age when you get out that do not have. And if you
Mhm.
take that to the civilian world and want to start your own business or work for a company, you are going to kick everyone's ass if you use what you've learned. But a lot
Mhm.
of people get out and they have these expectations that people, and I'm not saying veterans are like this, but I feel like I was in a situation kind of like you're owed something. Like someone owes, like I served time, like I have all this experience. Like I should walk into a job making 150,000 a year because of my
Mhm.
experience. That's
Mhm.
just not the case. Your career is going to be starting over. You're owed, a thank you to the country. You did your time, you did your service, but once you get out of the military, your career starts over. Use what you've learned in the military and discipline and work your
Mhm.
way up. You climb so fast if you just use that approach. But a lot of people just like to play the victim card and want
Mhm.
to feel sorry. And sorry, it's just not going to work. It just doesn't.
Well, you learn some incredible life skills when you're in the military that you can carry
Yeah.
on to civilian life. I mean, just that kind of dedication, the resilience that you show when you're going through the training. It's not for sissies.
Yeah. No, no. Sorry if I talked a lot during that whole situation.
Oh no, it was perfect. But what I did, what I mentioned, I find it very poetic that he told you that no one was going to save you after all of the rescues that you did saving other people. It was time for you to save yourself.
Yes, and that's I'm so glad you said that because I got asked by someone, "What's your greatest accomplishment?" And I was like, "I did all this stuff, and my biggest accomplishment was be able to save myself from myself."
Hmm.
And like the way I feel right now is amazing compared to what I felt like last like January. It's just a night and day difference. And people like everyone's like, "What has happened to you?" And I'm like, "I just woke up." And I still
Hmm.
have people that don't believe in me, but that's fine. Like I'm just like, and this is what I love about the coaching and being on social media is I don't miss and I'm not going to miss. Like I post my whole life and I want people to see that. And I want
Hmm.
to be a walking example of if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. And so
Hmm.
like this is my passion. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life is help others. And I found the reason why I chose fitness and basically mindset because fitness, I feel like if someone's struggling in any area,
Hmm.
normally they've lost their way and they're out of shape. And if you get back in shape, to get fit takes some type of discipline. And that
Hmm.
discipline is going to create some habits. And those habits can carry over once you have them to every aspect of your life. And I looked at and I study the most successful people in the world. They all put fitness as a forefront of their
Hmm.
daily routine. They have to have it and it's their way out. And that's what grounds them and that's what makes them disciplined. And so that's what I love about being able to do this is to be able to, the majority of people come, they're lost and they just need to get back in shape. And once they get back in shape, their confidence comes back and then that shines through and they're doing better in their jobs or they're in sales or they're more confident when they speak to people. It's crazy on how fitness is like the gateway to success.
Well, movement heals and movement is life. And any kind of strengthening, anything you can do from a physical aspect, it just makes
Mm,
you feel so much better mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. It just
yeah,
brings everything together.
exactly. Yeah. And what I try to teach people is I get like a few of my clients, they struggle with, they do like a challenge
Hmm.
or they're trying to work out for like a wedding to get in shape for a vacation. And I was like, I used to do that a lot, but
Hmm.
you're working out for the wrong reasons. This needs to be a lifestyle change. And we need to
Hmm.
change the mindset of why you're going to work out for so long. And then as soon as that time's up, you're just going to quit and you're going to go back and like you're going to lose all those gains. We need to make this, you need to have non-negotiables every day that you're going to do. And I'm a big believer in getting up early and having time for yourself. So like when I
Hmm.
get up, I don't get up that early. Like, I mean, it's early, but you know, my coach that I have gets up at 2:45 every day. I get up at
Oh,
5. Yeah. I don't know how he does it, but he does. But I get up at 5 and it starts me coming downstairs. I hydrate 32 ounces and I read a book and then I just kind of meditate. And then my girlfriend gets up at 6. We spend time together. Then when my son's here, 7 o'clock, he's up, and then we go for a walk, and then we're getting ready for school, and then we start our day that way. But take, I feel like people just, if you take time out of the day before you start going to work, before you start anything, to do some type of getting outside, some type of physical activity, and awaken yourself before you just get up right before you have to get up and get out the door. Like it
mhm.
just gives you, it puts you in a better mood, puts you in a better spirit, it raises your frequency. And you're just, it's hard to be negative when you're in that flow state, when you have a morning routine that gets you set up to be prepared for the day.
So I'm really curious, since you just basically launched your coaching business and your
Mhm.
fitness business in April,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Okay.
no, I in the end of July, so August. So
In
I was
August.
working doing personal development. Wes is like, he's like, we're gonna get you right first, and then you're gonna help others get right. So we got to get you
Okay.
right first. And so I had to do a transformation. And then once he felt like I was ready and I talked to him, he's like, all right, now I'm gonna give you the blueprint on how to, coach and lead others. And so yeah, I started doing that like the beginning of August
Mhm.
when I started doing.
Wow. It still blows me away how quick your personal transformation was.
Yeah, but I think it was the reason why it was not easy. It's I knew that I needed to do it for a long time. I just needed to
Mm,
like
mhm,
for since the part on the beach where I wanted to commit suicide, the getting off the Xanax was easy because I knew like I didn't need that. It was just kind of, but the alcohol I kind of relied on, and I didn't think that I could have fun
mhm,
without drinking. I
mhm,
associated fun with drinking. And
mhm,
then once I quit, I even put myself in situations to make sure that I wouldn't fall back. And so I have friends that live in Florida, and me and my girlfriend went down 2 months ago, and we went on a boat. Everyone's drinking, everyone's having a good time. They were like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "I'm perfectly fine with that." And I ended up having the best time not drinking. I was able to drive the boat back, make sure everything was good, and it just felt good to have power over myself. And then
mhm,
we can go to like a bar where people are like they have a music going on, and like normally that would be my cue, like, oh, I need a drink. Like
mhm,
I didn't have any of it because I knew that like I have clients that are going to be checking in on me, or I'm going to be doing check-ins with them. We're going to be on the call. And now that like I'm putting myself out on Instagram, I could be anywhere. And if I'm seen doing something that I'm preaching, like I don't want to feel like a fraud, and I don't want to let people down. And when you become a coach, like, and especially as a dad, and I'm realizing this now, it's bigger than you. Like this picture is
mhm,
bigger than yourself now. You have other people counting on you. And when I go to that, and if I go to the drinking, I'm going to let everyone down, and I just can't do that. There's a bigger picture here, and for me to, save and help as many people as I possibly can with my goal, it just doesn't align, and so it's easy for me to not to go there. Um,
So how can people get a hold of you, Justin? And do you work with people in person and online?
No, so I do everything online. I mean, I do like, so I have like my neighbors here that I'm helping
Mhm,
out, but I do everything online, and you can reach me through Instagram. It's Justin Crane _fit.
mhm,
And everything is through Instagram. And if you told me that 6 months ago I would be a coach, and I just use Instagram just for fun.
mhm,
And I started out with like a few hundred followers, and now I'm growing to 700. But it happens quickly, and it's I love the journey, and I'm already able to help people, and it's such a rewarding feeling to know that like I was hurting so bad a few months
mhm,
ago. Now I'm in the best shape I've ever been in, and I'm getting in better shape every single day.
mhm.
And now I'm helping guys like just change their life, like losing weight, feeling better, stopping drinking, and stopping them from the point that I was reaching. It's so rewarding. It's the best feeling ever. And I don't even care about the money part of it. Like it's just I want to help as many people as I can.
Mhm.
So
So if somebody would have told you back in January that by this time in, near the end of 2023, where you would be as far as mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, and helping other people, what would you have said to them? Would you have called them crazy?
yeah, I would have laughed at him and be like, no, I was so like stuck on my limited beliefs that I needed to, this contracting was the way that I'm going to make money. And I was looking
Mhm.
for the next job to pay me a little bit more, but I wasn't being fulfilled. But I didn't know that you could be fulfilled again. I thought like my military career was my fun time and that's what my passion was. There's nothing that's going to take this over. So I would have been like, you don't know what you're talking about. But
Mhm.
then when you see like it's like the law of exposure, when
Mhm.
you're exposed to something that you don't, you can't like picture it yet until you actually see it. And to see my coach and what he like, to come from $200 out of prison and have
Mhm.
nothing to what he's doing now and the stuff that he has and the lives that he's changing. Like I'm on these group calls because he's my mentor and
Mhm.
he's got thousands and thousands of people that he's helping change lives. And then I just last month I went out to his place in San Diego and got to meet him and work with him and see it. To be exposed to that, it opens your mind to be like, this is just another guy that was just like me. And
Mhm.
all he's doing is becoming the best man he can possibly be and teaching other men and women how to do the same thing. And
Mhm.
it's the whatever you put out into the universe you're going to receive, so the more you give the more you're going to get back. And it's a crazy thing to look at. So I would have laughed at you. I would have been like, there's no way. But whenever you're exposed to it though and you see someone live what they're telling you what's going to happen, you're like, oh, this is possible. And then to see people on his program that I'm working with within a year how successful they've been and how many people they've changed and the transformations, and it's just amazing. And like I said, this is a, I thought the military was my passion. This is a new me. It's like a version 2.0 and I love it. So
Changing lives one person at a time.
yes, and keeping me right as well at the same time.
You look fantastic.
Oh well, I appreciate that. It was like, man, if you would have seen me like in April, you would have been like, what happened to this guy? Like, as a completely different person. But yeah, and I like, that's the motivation right there, is to never feel the way I felt again. And that's what I try to tell people. Like one guy, he did, I don't know if you ever heard of 75 hard challenge.
I
Um,
have, but I don't know much about it.
So it's just a non-negotiables you do. It gets you in shape for 75 days. And he showed me his pictures. And then it's like a month later, he's like back at it and he gained more weight. And he's like, you don't ever want to feel that way again. And that's what I'm going to be here for. We're going to make a lifestyle change and we're going to make sure that you're on track. And I want to set you up with the right tools to carry this over so you're not sitting here again next year and having to get another coach. I want this to, let's get it done right the first time and fix out all the problems and then get you set up. And
But
I
it,
feel
it's
like
like it's like any habit. You're creating a new habit. This is a good habit.
yes, yep.
And once you start doing it, it almost becomes, I don't want to say automatic, but it's just something that you strive to do. It
Yeah,
makes you feel so much better.
right. Yeah, and I think what a lot of people struggle with when they want to get in shape and make changes is there's so much information out there and they
Oh,
feel like they got to do everything all at once. And what I
mhm,
do is I want to slowly implement change.
mhm,
So okay, let's get you going with one habit for 1 week and have you do
mhm,
that 1 week. And let's add in another habit. And we're going to take out the bad stuff. You're not going to be drinking anymore. You're not going to be smoking. You're not going to be like, I deal with a lot of guys that have like porn addiction and stuff like that. So
mhm,
we cut all that out, and each week you're checking in on me. And then we're going to add one thing to your checklist that you're going to do. And then you're going to accomplish that. And then, you know, after 21 days, it's a habit. And then after 90 days, it's a lifestyle. And
mhm.
they got it down. But a lot of people try to do everything so quickly all at once. They go from 0 to 100. It's not going to be sustainable. So I try to just slowly build people in. And then over time, by the time you get to 90 days, you're going to be feeling great. You have these habits. Now let's continue doing them and then watch your life change. And that's what's happening. So
Awesome. Now, do you work with women as well as men, or are you primarily
I,
just a men's coach?
I do like, yeah, I work with women. I have 2 women that I'm training now. And so, my main foot, like I will help anyone. I would say the main guys that come to me are, since I did the mastermind and my name was out there with my coach, the veteran outreach has been really great. So I'm getting veteran, but I'm in guys like, anywhere from like their 28 to into their 50s. And then, the 2 of the women was, one lady was 46, and then the other lady that I'm signing up, actually today, she's 32. And so a lot of them, that's all the same story. It's just they lost track and they just need to know how to get back. And a lot of people just don't understand, you know, diet and nutrition and like the correct way on how to do things. And there's a lot that's out there. I try to make it easy. I'm a macro based. I believe in that, and having your ratios down based on your body type, and females are going to be different than men. But you got to know what's going in your body, watching your calories. And I feel like a lot of people struggle. Like, my girlfriend had a really bad eating disorder when she was in high school. She almost died. She got down to 67 pounds. So yeah, when I started working with her, I didn't coach her because I was like, I don't want to. So
No.
she got different coaches, and the scale, getting on and weighing herself and then counting her food stressed her out. And so I was able to help her. I was like, just let me like, we have to do this because you're not eating enough food, and I hate to see you working out so hard and you're not getting the results that you want. The reason why I feel like you're so afraid of the scale and afraid of watching your food is you're afraid of messing up. Like you're a perfectionist. And so it's not the counting the calories that is, like you say, messing up with your mental health. It's you letting yourself down. And so we're not going to have to do this. The way I train it is like, you're only going to have to watch your macros for the week, for a week or two, and actually weigh your food. But once you get the foods down that you know that you can eat and you can eyeball it, you're going to be good. You just know what you can't eat, and this is what you're going to eat. And then once we have it down and to a system, you're not going to be living by the scale and weighing your food and log it in the MyFitnessPal. You're going to do it the first couple of weeks, but after that, you're going to be set and you're going to see the change. And so I just like to try to take a different approach to things to help people that they're scared of, to talk, like try to show a different light of like, because most of the women that I've talked to, they're afraid. They say that weighing food and counting their calories is not good for their mental health. And I'm just like, I think it's because you're afraid of letting yourself down. Like if you mess up, you know that what it's doing to you in your body, that you feel bad, and that's what's bad for you. It's not the process. And I was like, we just do it for a couple of weeks and get it down, you'll be good. And then yeah, the girl, the 46-year-old that I was working with, she wanted to actually gain weight. She was like 118 and she's doing like bodybuilding type stuff. She wanted to get to like 126. I'm like, well, we're gonna have to add some more calories. We're gonna add some protein, add some carbs. And at first she was scared of doing that, but she did it, and it was like in a month. Like she had a crazy genetic. So, but yeah.
Well, I think a lot of women have a distorted view of food and nutrition because we have been told so many really strange and crazy things during our lifetime. And there's so much really, there's a lot of charlatans out there. Let's just put it to you that way. And trying to dig through all of the information yourself is a little bit overwhelming. And I think women get a very distorted picture of what is healthy and healthy food, healthy eating. And they just think of food, but not necessarily nutrition.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and if there's one thing that like I always want to like try to help out, give advice, and if you're out there and you don't want to need a coach, and there's one thing you want to get in shape and change your life, you don't need a ton of cardio like you think. You don't need to be running unless you like to run for your mental
Mhm.
health. I lost all my weight and all my clients are losing their weight and getting in shape. I really am a firm believer in walking at least 30 minutes a day, and adding in strength training, and then watching your calories, the food that's coming in and out, and then drink plenty of water, stay away from processed foods and
Mhm.
sugar. If you can do that, then you can transform your body in 90 days. Like if you're working with someone and you're working out and you're following a plan and you're not seeing results in 90 days, then there's something wrong. We need to look at
Mhm.
what's going on, because 90 days you should be able to make a really big transformation if you're doing the things that are correct. So
And I like the fact that you brought up sugar. Sugar is Satan. Stay away
oh
from it.
my gosh, yes, I know. I With my son, it's crazy because I see how addicting it is,
Mhm.
and I try to take it away, and I'm trying to, but it's hard because it's in everything. And then he goes to school and he eats it and he comes home and he wants ice cream, and it's just like, man, it's so like sugar is not. It's like I
And you're
think it's
right.
the most addictive
It
drug.
it's in everything. It wasn't when I was in my 40s and I had just finished physical therapy school, and I was out of shape, overweight, and from sitting and studying for 2 years nonstop. And it was like, I need to start getting serious about this. And I started reading labels when I went to the grocery store. I was
Mhm.
shocked.
Oh, I know. It's hidden too. Like that's the crazy.
Oh, just nuts.
Yeah. And there's what is it? Not There's some type of milk, not the almond milk, but oat milk has
Yeah.
so much sugar in it, and it's so horrible for you. But people think it's healthy, and that's where that's all the fallacies in like nutrition, where people think things are healthy. They're really not. They
Yeah.
have so much sugar and processed foods in them that is just it's crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you really got to
no
watch the
wonder
labels.
why uh, obesity is a problem.
Yeah, it's just a lack of information, and then not applying. People
Mhm.
just really get used to, and we're trained. I feel like we're trained to be lazy these days. Everything is at
Mhm.
our fingertips. We don't want to
Mhm.
go and do anything. The more comfort we can have, the more
Mhm.
we feel like we're relaxing. And I hate when people like live for the weekends just to relax and let up. But I'm like, no, the weekends is where you make your gains. That's where you
Mhm.
need to be doubling down and putting in more work. And um, when comfort comes in, that's when the pleasures come in, and that's where you fall off track. You don't need to be comfortable all the time. You need to do something hard every single day to keep your mind alert and your body healthy.
And that's where the complacency comes in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Yeah, you start
Mhm.
getting comfortable, you get
Mhm.
complacent, and then you don't have any ambition anymore. That's
Yeah.
what that. I mean, that's my story right there. Like I said, I was this really uh, dedicated guy in the military, and then get out and lose my dedication and my discipline. And I went to comfort, and I was a completely different person. And now I'm back to that. I would say I'm even more motivated than I was before when
Mhm.
I joined the military now. So
Mhm. Excellent.
yeah, it's
Well,
long life.
Justin, it has been an absolute delight having you on the show. I have loved this conversation and love talking to you. And I'm still blown away by some of the stories. And I am still blown away by the transformation that you've made in such a short amount of time. But it was done with so much conscious intention.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that's so important for the audience to understand. Again, you talked about mindset a lot, and changing your mindset just changes your life
Mhm.
in either direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. And it is being conscious. It's being true to yourself. You have to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, you're never going to make change. You're going to stay the same way. And that's what I did, is like I looked at myself in the mirror every day, and it's either time's going to pass by either way. I'm either going to make the
Mhm.
change and be the same person and slowly lose myself and die, or I'm going to make the change, and every day I'm going to get up, look at myself, and be happy because I keep my word to myself. And that's where you make the change. Whenever you keep your own word to yourself, and you can honor yourself and not lie to yourself, and go to bed knowing that you did everything you could, that's where you make the change. And that's how you become a really good person, is You do that every single day and your life will change.
And it's not as hard as it sounds. Just taking that first step is probably the hardest part,
Right. Yeah.
right?
It's for me, it was taking the honest inventory of my life of what I needed to cut out and be okay with letting go of drinking. I
Mhm,
had to have that talk. There would be so many times where I'm like, I can still do this, but like if I go on vacation, I could have a couple drinks. No, that's I'm letting my mind justify things, and you can't do
mm,
that. And you have to be self-aware because it's going to happen. Like there's times when I don't want to go to the gym,
mhm,
and I know that's my mind telling me you don't need to do this today. You've been working hard. Like you're justifying. You need to tell that to be quiet. That part of your mind to be quiet,
mhm,
and you act off of actions. You act off of your goals. You don't act off how you feel that day. And that's
mhm.
where you make the biggest change. And that's what I work with my clients too. Is like we don't act on feelings. We act on what we need to get done for the day.
Oh, that's another thing. I don't do feelings. I don't do feelings very well at all. Yeah, as I said, I really I'm very practical and analytical, which really kind of surprises me sometimes. But
Yeah,
anyhow,
I love data, and that's why like when I work with my clients, I not only do I have them weigh themselves, but I have them take pictures and then I have them tape
mhm,
themselves because the scale's not going to move, but the pictures weekly, you're going to see a dramatic change. And then like when you're taping your waist and your neck and your body measurements, you may be putting on muscle and not knowing it and losing body fat. But if
mhm,
you just use the scale, you're not going to
mhm,
get anywhere. And you having those data points, they don't lie. Those numbers don't lie to you. And it gives you the reassurance. Like I was working with this guy, he's like, I'm stuck at 187, 187. I was like, yeah, but look how much body fat you've lost. Like you look completely different. Look at your pictures. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
mhm. And the way
So
your clothes fit too.
yeah, exactly. That's the first thing that people say is like, oh, my clothes feel so much better. I'm getting compliments. And yeah, it's an amazing feeling once you make that change. And then when people start to notice it and you get the
Positive
um,
reinforcement.
positive reinforcement from that, yeah, it's an amazing feeling. So,
Mhm. Well, Justin, thank you so much again for being on the show. And I have to say it again. Thank you for your service to this great country. I really appreciate that.
yes. And thank you for having me on. This has been awesome. I love this interview with your style and the way that you were able to just let me talk. Sometimes I felt like I was rambling, but I really appreciate it. Like I got a lot out and
Mhm,
it's therapeutic to talk about this stuff.
mhm,
Like I talk about this with men. Men need to talk more about
mhm,
their feelings and their emotions. They need to let it
mhm.
out. It's good to talk about this. And now I'm like in my zone. I'm in like a really high frequency right now. I feel amazing. So I want to say thank you. So
Well, you are welcome and thank you. And you did not talk too much. It was just absolutely wonderful. I loved every bit of this
okay.
conversation.
Awesome.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Oh, please do share this episode with everybody you know, especially the men out there. I think it's really important, as Justin said, share your stories. We learn so much from each other, and we can really grow and become so much better, not only as human beings individually, but as a society. And I really believe that we need a little bit of a wake-up call and a little bit of a makeover right now. And so do go to Justin's Instagram page. I've checked it out. Some of his pictures are absolutely amazing. And contact him. If you need some help, obviously he's a wonderful guy and he will help you out. And just remember that no one's going to save you. You need to save yourself. If you need help doing it, Justin's the man. Contact him. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.